Welcome to beautiful British Columbia, everybody. Today we've got a fun Dissected episode featuring the new high pivot Trek Slash. Let's go for a ride. So today we're gonna be taking a look at the Gen 6 Trek Slash. This is a 170 millimeter high pivot mullet or mixed wheel enduro bike. It is definitely built with descending and gravity in mind. Trek says this is a 70-30 bike, so 70% downhill, 30% uphill. There's gonna be 5 sizes available from small to extra large, with a medium large there in between. It will come, like I said, with a mixed wheel, so 27.5 out back on medium and up. This size small will have a 27.5-inch wheel front and rear, and we'll talk to Casey Brown, who's out on the trail with us today, about her size small Slash and how much she likes it. 27.5-inch wheels. Tell us what that means to you as a rider.
Well, I think it just fits the small frame better.
Okay.
And I mean, anyone that's gonna buy a small bike is obviously gonna be a smaller person, and I think they're just gonna benefit so much more from the small wheels, and they're gonna be able to rail the bike harder, be able to, like, you know, feel more at home on their bike, I think.
How long have you been riding the new Slash?
I only rode in Italy for a week, and this is my first Canadian ride on it. And
oh, nice.
Yeah, it's awesome. Took me like a little bit to get used to it because I was like expecting a Slash, but because high pivot, different size wheels, I can't even compare the two bikes, the old bike and the new one. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Where would you say are the big differences that make it not comparable for you?
Well, the wheel size is one, and the way the suspension works is another. Like, I definitely have noticed huge difference in like the pedal ability and being able to like make it over stuff. And it's like, it feels like a 29er in some ways because of how smooth it is.
Right.
And then, but it has these small wheels which make it even more nimble for me. So,
yeah, there's some tight techie switchbacks for sure, and no problem getting it up there.
So honestly, it's like the best of both worlds.
Okay.
For the smalls anyways.
You probably noticed the mid-high pivot. It's a little bit higher than the Session, but not quite as aggressive as some others. Also, you've got, you know, 2 pulley wheels, one above and below, which we will get into with Trek's designer and engineer about why they're doing that. Internal storage has been upgraded, a nicer lever to access that box. You've got the ability to switch new links down here and go to a 29-inch wheel in the back if you would like. There is also a 20 or 25% progression setting, so heavier, more aggressive riders or those who want to ride a coil shock will be happy to have 2 settings available. Matt, so tell us what some of the key roles and goals that you had designing the new Slash.
We'll start at the beginning with the last gen Slash. We knew that did some things really well. First of all, it went downhill really well and made a good race bike for our team. So we wanted to continue that forward, but also bring in some of the DNA from our other race bike, the Session. But we didn't want to make it an idler just like the Session. We knew the bike had to go uphill as well, so we put a lot of effort into this bike to make sure it pedaled well and you can make it to the top in good shape.
And during our product presentation and talk, you guys basically had everything from top fuel to Slash and uphill, downhill percentage ratios.
Right.
Can you tell us where the Slash is ranked in Trek's lineup?
I forgot what it said, but I think it's 70% downhill and 30% uphill.
That's it. He was paying attention in the slideshow. Good job. Okay, you pass.
Yeah.
So with that sort of gravity-focused mindset, what were some of the ways that you were able to get an idler-equipped, you know, and 2-pulley bike to still pedal pretty decently?
Yeah, so high amongst those is anti-squat. So we have a very flat anti-squat curve on this bike, and typically that comes along with a lot of pedal kickback on the uphill, but the idler takes care of the pedal kickback side of things. So it's pretty amazing how this bike climbs once you get on it. I'd say it's surprising to a lot of people.
Okay. And you said roughly 3%, I guess, as far as wattage or power reduction due to those 2 extra pulleys.
Right, that's right, yeah.
And you did go with an oversized 19 tooth.
Correct.
Which, can you tell why you went with that?
Yeah, definitely. So it's long been known that the more you articulate your chain, so the more you bend the links of your chain, the more power you lose. So with a larger diameter idler, you're just bending the chain less.
And I would say, I guess one of the other really neat things that I took away from pedaling, shifting performance before we moved to the downhill side of things was the very narrow range, I guess, that the SRAM T-type derailleurs have for chain growth and movement to maintain crisp shifting.
Yeah.
So can you talk to us about what that means for suspension performance and how you achieve that?
Yeah, definitely. So I think one of the most striking visual aspects of the bike, whether that's good or bad, is how high the lower idler is. And to determine that position, we worked with SRAM to come up with a total chain growth number. So we looked at that in CAD and measured the total loop of the chain, and it's a published number from SRAM. So I think the number is 57 millimeters of total chain growth, and we kept it under that. And the reason for that is it helps keep the upper pulley wheel on the derailleur close to the cassette to maintain shift performance. A byproduct of that is what you'll notice is when you push on the rear end of the bike, the bottom of the derailleur cage hardly moves at all. And some of my testers have said that the suspension feels more free because of it.
Okay, you're not fighting the energy from that clutch.
The clutch, that's right.
And did I maybe hear that some DH racers were experimenting with that?
Absolutely, Loris has had it on his bike. Whether he has it at World Champs or the next race, I don't know, but he has been running it.
Okay, and he said he's noticed an improvement.
He has.
So smoother, more active suspension.
Yeah.
Not quite a chainless effect, but that's what the goal is, right?
Yeah, it's closer to that.
Okay.
Yep.
And then as far as descending performance from just kind of overall frame construction to suspension, how does this stack up?
This is right below the session. Definitely has a descent focus in mind with that 70-30. It goes downhill really well.
And then I guess frame touch points. There's
Sure.
a couple of new things, a couple improved things.
Yeah.
Obviously, this internal storage has been improved a little bit larger.
Yep.
Removable down tube protector, and then you talked about a laminate that is, I guess, impregnated with the material for a little more durability.
Yeah, that's right. So we have a thermoplastic layer in the laminate that helps with bottom of the down tube durability.
Okay. So let's dive into the Geo on the Slash real quick. We said earlier there are 5 sizes. We are currently riding the size large, so we'll focus our Geo around that number and with the headset in the nominal position. And there are headset cups that will allow you to adjust plus or minus 1 degree, but we'll reference all numbers from that nominal center position. So the reach on the Gen 6 Slash goes from 448 millimeters up to 513 mil. Our size large sits at 488. The stack height on the large is 641 millimeters. The bottom bracket drop sits at 27 mil, giving a 351 millimeter bottom bracket height. The chainstays sit at 434 millimeters, giving an overall wheelbase of 1,277 mil. Seat tube angle sits at 77.1 degree on the size large. They do change throughout the size range. And the head tube angle sits at 63.3 degrees, which is quite slack and kind of speaks to the intention of this bike. For me, one of the biggest noticeable improvements or where the bike just shines and stands out is the ability for that rear wheel to move out of the way and just minimize bumps underneath. Climbing, you know, there was a lot of roots and some larger rocks, and I was intentionally pointing this bike at those obstacles and trying to see how much I was gonna feel it through the seat, and I was just continually impressed by how smooth the bike was going over that. When it comes to pedaling efficiency, it does a pretty good job if you get it on a fire road, and you know, especially if you reach for that shock lever, it'll go. Where I found, you know, today on trails I've never ridden, on a bike I've never been on, a little bit of, I guess, desire for wanting to know the bike better or the trail better was, there was some spots where it just felt like a lot of bike. You know, whether that was kind of like quick punchy up and overs or hard compressions where there'd be like a turn and a switchback, or lots of like stacked rocks or roots where you kind of have to go over a lot of stuff with a lot of power or explosive energy. I think some of that had to do with the wet conditions and the Bontrager tires just not being the best in that scenario and just fighting for traction. But that would be one area I want to spend some more time working on, changing up the tire spec, maybe playing with the stack height, you know, dropping the bars a little bit. But for the category, this bike is a competitive climber, and it's really incredible how smooth it is. Flipping it to the downhills, this bike absolutely eats up the terrain. It was amazing to just point it down, rock slabs, pick up and yank off stuff into like chunky, rocky landings, and even like flatter, lower grade stuff where there was just lots of sharp embedded rock or roots. It was so quiet and so smooth. I'm not convinced that high pivot is the best thing ever. I think Trek's done a really good job, and this bike has me seriously thinking about maybe I was wrong, or maybe this was just executed better than the others. If you like riding fast and you like riding rough and chunky terrain, if you like sending it deep into, you know, rowdy trails, this is definitely gonna be a bike I think you're gonna wanna consider. Trek's done a really good job making a balanced, playful, and lively bike that still can handle a lot of chunder. And we're very excited to get this on our home trails and back in the bike park. So make sure you guys stay tuned. Please subscribe to the channel, leave any comments or questions you have down below, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.